Virtual 11. Alright, 10 down, 5 to go. And now let's take care of the last Blaze Bayley era album. So in contrast to Fear the Dark, which I just had the bathroom light on, and X Factor, in which I had no lights on at all, Virtual 11 is a clear, big, approach into a more, happy, bright sounding sort of metal. It's not like power metal or anything like that, but in comparison to the X Factor, it's a lot more bright and polished and upbeat and so forth. The first indicator of that really is the cover art. While on the last album you had a very dim looking puppet of Eddie just being lobotomized and stuff. Here you get a very bright painting of Eddie in the sky, and it's obviously a lot more brighter, more colorful than Virtual 11. That is definitely shown in the music as well. And literally right off the bat you could definitely see in the first couple of seconds of the opening track, Future Real, that they're definitely going for a way more upbeat, more colorful sound. And Future Real is a really good song, very good opener. It's definitely no Moonchild or Aces High or anything like that, but still a very, very good opener nonetheless. Definitely leaves this album a great first impression. However, immediately after that, you'll see why this is the album which I rank as the second worst Iron Maiden album, period. The next song is, of course, Angel and the Gambler. At first it sounds pretty decent, sounds pretty good, but then as the song goes on, you start to notice it gets a little repetitive. Maybe a little too repetitive. Don't you think I can save you? Don't you think I'm a savior? Don't you think I could save your life? The same thing for about 6 to 7 minutes. I mean, there are breaks in between there, sometimes, it's just more melodic and mid-paced at first. Then it goes into a softer, more mellow style. Then it builds back up to another verse, and what do you know? It comes back into that mid-paced sound again. Well, that doesn't matter. It's the same thing over and over and over again, and it's boring. But unlike everyone else, I don't blame Blaze Bayley for this. He's merely doing what Steve Harris wrote. And Steve Harris is the main culprit in this, I am very sorry to say, because he single-handedly wrote this song. He's the one who made Blaze Bayley sing that same line over and over and over again. He's the one who made the music very repetitive, so therefore Steve Harris is entirely to blame for this piece of shit song. I'm sorry, Steve Harris, I love ya. You're one of the greatest bassists of all time, but dear God, this is a big heaping pile of shit. And this song is so bad that it really just ruins the flow of the rest of the album. I mean, I've listened to songs like The Klansman and Lightning Strikes Twice, just on their own, and they sounded really good, but after coming off of Angel and the Gambler, it really spoils the rest of the album. And this song, it just destroys the flow. When it goes right into Lightning Strikes Twice, I used to love it before, but when coming into this song, it sounded just merely decent. Even though, frankly, it's been a while since I've listened to Lightning Strikes Twice, so, before I loved it, I really enjoyed it. Now I think it's a little decent. The Klansman, it's definitely a bump up for sure, but it doesn't feel quite as invigorating after coming through Angel and the Gambler again. If it weren't for the inclusion of Angel and the Gambler, the rest of the songs would have sounded fine. It's because of the boredom that induced me in this piece of fucking crap song that really just destroyed the flow and made me just not as interested to listen to the rest of the album. It was that bad. And if they took Angel and the Gambler off the album entirely, then this album potentially would have gotten a much higher score for me, because the rest of the album is really not that bad. Until Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger, of course. That song suffers the same fate as Angel and the Gambler, unfortunately. Very long, very repetitive song. The only saving grace for it is like this fast-paced little like ding 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 sort of solo. I kind of forgot how it went, but I'm trying to find it right now just so I could play it really quick for you guys. So I'll get back to you. Yeah, like this part's like the only saving grace for the song. It's a nice little polka thing going on. But yeah, that's really the song's only saving grace. Everything else about it's pretty bland, and these are like two of the worst Iron Maiden songs I've ever heard. Well, Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger is not quite as bad as Angel and the Gambler. There's a bit more engagement going on, like with that one little part I showed you there. It's like a little, it was like a polka solo thing, but yeah. Besides that, yeah, this is also one of the worst songs on the album. If they'd taken off Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger and kept the polka solo in somewhere in one of the other songs and completely removed Angel and the Gambler, then this album would have gotten a bigger score from me. But yeah, the rest of the album isn't too bad. The Klansman is a great epic. It actually is the epic of the album. Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger, no. Angel and the Gambler, no. Klansman is the real epic of this album, next to When Two Worlds Collide, which is my favorite song on this album. A lot of people don't really dig it too much, and not a lot of people really care, but When Two Worlds Collide, I love the melody, I love the lyrics, and yeah, Blaze Bayley sounds just fucking awesome in the song. Yeah, this is definitely like yeah, it's my favorite song in this album by far. And Como Esta Amigo is also a pretty good closer. It's fairly decent. I think I've mentioned all the songs, haven't I? I think so. Okay, Futurio, very good. Angel and the Gambler, shit. Lightning Strikes Twice, pretty good. When Two Worlds Collide, awesome. My favorite song on the album. Educated Fool, great. Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger, ugh, no. And Como Esta Amigo, decent, pretty good. But yeah, with all things being considered, having listened to this album again just recently, yeah, this is one of the absolute bottom tier albums. It's like my second least favorite Iron Maiden album. It's like the second worst. I still kind of think No Prayer for the Dying is the worst, because that album just had no direction going for it whatsoever. I mean, neither does this album really, but it's kind of in a different way. This album's just like directionless as to like, we're stalling for time, we're stalling, we don't really know where to go, we're just stalling. Just say, don't you think I could save you a million fucking times, because I'm trying to think. It's more like, just stalling for time, just to think of something else, which proved to be a disaster. No Prayer for the Dying is more like, it's all over the place, there's no direction at all, really, and like many of the songs in that album are extremely bland. But having listened to this album again, this could very well top No Prayer for the Dying as the worst Iron Maiden album in time. I may need to give No Prayer for the Dying another listen or two, because, to be honest, it's been a little while since I've heard No Prayer for the Dying, and I do remember hearing some very good tracks on that album. So I may need to upgrade my rating in time for that one. But for this album, I'm probably going to have to give about a 7, I think. Yeah, I'll have to give it about a 7 out of 10 personally. Yeah, there's some very disastrous moments on this album, but there's also some good ones too. Yeah. It's so ironic that this album is much more upbeat and like louder than X Factor, but how much more boring it is than X Factor. And that is quite the contradiction. You would think that with slower, like more moody stuff, that'd be a bit more like boring. But X Factor, very just great album. It's I think it's one of the best. Ironic how this is much more upbeat, a lot louder, and a lot more in your face, just like a lot of classic Iron Maiden works. And this is like one of the absolute like bottom tier albums, like one of their absolute worst. But hey, I gave it a 7 out of 10. That's higher than I would give any of Queensryche's works from the past 15, 16 years, starting from Here in the Now Frontier and moving on to Dedicated to Chaos and some of Jeff Tate's solo works like Kings and Thieves. No, that would not get a 7 out of 10 for me, by the way. That album's a piece of garbage. But, like, by Iron Maiden standards, this album would be garbage. But by, like, Jeff Tate standards, this would probably be, like, his masterpiece. But like I said, it's not, like, a terrible album overall. It just has some terrible moments on it. And I don't blame Blaze Bayley for this. He's merely doing what Steve Harris is telling him to do, since like Steve Harris is like, the head honcho of the band. He's the one who calls all the shots, if you will. So yeah, I don't really blame it. I don't blame it at all on Blaze Bayley. He's just being told what to sing. So yeah, for all the Blaze haters out there, fuck you. He's not the problem. But like I said before, this is Blaze Bayley's last album with the band, and this is Iron Maiden's last album of the 1990s. But fortunately for us, Bruce Dickinson would return to the band, and same with Adrian Smith, who left during the Seventh Son era. So, well, with the exception of the fact that they kept Janet Gers, who I personally really enjoy his solos and his guitar work overall. A lot of people fucking hate him for some reason, but I really like his style, and I'm glad that he stayed in the band. I really like the fact that they've kept all three guitarists. So it's basically the same classic lineup from the 1980s, only they kept Janet Gers in the lineup. So yeah, it's a big lineup. It's a 6-member lineup, but it still worked out great because starting in 1999, 2000-ish, they would undergo a renaissance, if you will. Iron Maiden could basically be compared to like Western civilization in general, with the early 1970s. You can compare that to like Rome. Back in like its early days, like 1975 is like Romulus founds Rome, and the years leading up to that, it's like the Roman monarchy, like Tarquinius Superbus, and all the kings and stuff. Trust me, I'll make a bit more sense with this metaphor in a little bit. I guess the two albums of Paul Di'Anno would be like the rising success of Iron Maiden. Same with the rising success of like the Roman Republic, and the classic era of Iron Maiden, from like Number of the Beast to Seventh Son, would be like the glory days of like the Roman Empire, and then the 90s, of course, the Dark Ages, like the Middle Ages, and now we reach the 2000s, and it's like a renaissance of classic Iron Maiden. So yeah, I can't believe that. This metaphor actually really applies. Like, Iron Maiden is actually applicable to like Western civilization, and I think that's really cool. But anyway, my ramblings aside, Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith joined the band again, and all is well with Iron Maiden. And Blaze Bayley, following his departure from Iron Maiden, would go on to release such albums as Promise and Terror during his solo career. And yeah, really, really good album. I need to get more from him, but I just wanted to show this up as an example. Very, very solid, very good album. But yeah, Blaze Bayley is a great frontman, and he's just a great person, and he gets my love, respect, and props for all he's done in his solo career. Great guy, great stuff. But anyway, now that the 90s are behind us, it's time to move on to the 2000s. Stay tuned for Brave New World.